The Watchers and Forbidden Knowledge. Throughout history, stories of beings descending from the heavens have captivated human imagination. In the Bible, one of the most mysterious groups mentioned are the Watchers, angelic beings with a mission that took a devastating turn. In Genesis 6, we are told about the sons of God who saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful and took them as wives. These beings, often identified as the Watchers, crossed a divine boundary. They imparted forbidden knowledge to humanity: weapons, sorcery, hidden sciences, knowledge that was never meant to be in human hands. The ancient Book of Enoch gives even more detail. It names the leaders of the Watchers and describes how they taught humanity about metallurgy, enchantments, astrology, and other secret arts. This led to the corruption of the world, violence, arrogance, and the spread of sin. Some believe that this forbidden knowledge accelerated human civilization unnaturally. Instead of growing according to God's plan, humanity was hijacked, pushed into realms of power and destruction it was not prepared to handle. But the Watchers' rebellion was not just about disobedience. It was about humanity's trust in their own strength, their own knowledge, rejecting God's wisdom for a corrupted form of enlightenment. In many ancient cultures, myths of gods descending to teach humanity can be found. But what if these stories are echoes of the real tragic rebellion recorded in the Bible? Could the Watchers be the origin of ancient myths about powerful beings from the sky? Could this forbidden knowledge be why civilizations like Egypt, Babylon, and others made sudden leaps in technology and mysticism? Most importantly, what does the Bible tell us about these beings? In the book of Jude and 2 Peter, the New Testament writers remind us that these angels who sinned were cast into chains, kept in darkness awaiting judgment. The story of the Watchers is a cautionary tale. It warns us about the dangers of seeking knowledge and power outside of God's guidance. It also reminds us that not everything that comes from the skies is good. In an age where UFO sightings and alien encounters captivate the world, the Bible invites us to consider: are we once again reaching for forbidden knowledge? Are we repeating the same mistakes that brought corruption and judgment in ancient times? The Watchers' fall is not just an ancient story. It is a mirror reflecting our own desire for power without submission, for knowledge without wisdom. It challenges us to turn back to seek the true source of wisdom and life.
In the beginning, heaven and earth were one, a single united reality, God's space and our space overlapping perfectly. There was no separation, no distance, just the full presence of God dwelling with humanity. In the Garden of Eden, God walked among people. It was not just paradise, it was a temple where God and humans shared life together. This was the vision, heaven and earth together as one. But something changed. Humanity chose rebellion, seeking independence from God's wisdom. And as sin entered the world, heaven and earth were torn apart. God's presence, so pure and holy, could no longer dwell in the same way. But God did not give up. He began a plan to reconnect heaven and earth once again. He gave Israel the tabernacle and later the temple. These sacred spaces were not just buildings, they were portals where heaven touched earth. In them, God's presence dwelled, offering a glimpse of what once was and what would come again. But even these were only temporary. Human failure continued. Idolatry, injustice, and pride drove God's presence further away, until one day heaven came down, not to a building, but in a person. Jesus of Nazareth. He claimed to be the temple in human form. Through him, heaven and earth touched again. Jesus healed the sick, forgave sins, welcomed the outcast. Every act was a sign God is with us again. He became the new meeting place between God and humanity. But he was rejected, nailed to a cross, the place where God's presence and human rebellion collided. And yet, through that death, the curtain in the temple was torn. A way was opened. 3 days later, Jesus rose, alive, physical, transformed. A new creation had begun. The temple was no longer a place. It was a people, those who followed Jesus, filled with his Spirit. Today, heaven and earth overlap. Wherever God's Spirit dwells, in acts of love, mercy, justice, worship, and sacrifice. The church isn't a building, it's the people in whom heaven touches earth. And the story isn't over. Revelation speaks of a day when heaven and earth will be fully reunited again. No more tears, no more death, no more distance between God and his people. The Bible doesn't end with us escaping to heaven. It ends with heaven coming down to earth, God dwelling among us face to face forever. The hope that ends the evil in our lives. From the beginning, the human story has been shaped by a deep and painful struggle. A struggle against evil, not just around us, but within us. The Bible gives this struggle a name: sin. Sin isn't just a list of wrong actions. It's a power one that captures hearts and fractures relationships. It's what drives selfishness, injustice, violence, and fear. But God didn't abandon humanity to this brokenness. Instead, he set a plan into motion, a plan that would deal with evil at its root, not by force, but by love. It began with a promise. A descendant would come, a new kind of human, who would confront the evil within and around us. One who would crush the serpent's head, though he himself would be wounded. Throughout the pages of Scripture, we see glimpses of this hope. Prophets spoke of it, poets sang of it, kings longed for it, but the fulfillment came in a surprising way. Not through armies or political power, but through Jesus, the true Son of God. He faced evil head on, not with swords, but with sacrifice. He absorbed hatred with love, responded to violence with forgiveness, and met death with life. On the cross, he took the full weight of evil onto himself. It looked like defeat, but it was victory, a victory through surrender, a victory through love. 3 days later, he rose again, breaking the power of death and sin forever. His resurrection wasn't just proof of life after death. It was the beginning of new creation, a world being remade from the inside out. And the invitation is clear. Follow him, trust him. Let his victory over evil become a victory. This isn't a distant hope. It's a living hope, a living Jesus is not just a figure of history. He is the living King who defeats evil, not by crushing his enemies, but by transforming hearts. He offers peace in place of conflict, healing in place of hurt, life in place of death. The battle has been won. The serpent is crushed, and hope is alive.